Welcome to the Somewhat Frank podcast, hosted by me, Frank Gruber, and joined by my friends and colleagues, Jen Consalvo and John Guidos. This podcast explores the latest trends and advancements in technology and business, including emerging startups and how they shape today while looking forward towards the future. We also enjoy testing new gadgets and products and sharing our findings too, along with our favorite pop culture picks like music, books, and what we're streaming. This podcast is produced in collaboration with our company, Established. Ready to dive in? Time to be somewhat frank. Welcome back to the Somewhat Frank. I'm Frank Gruber, your host. I'm joined today by our usual guests, and we've got Johnny Good Times Guidos, then It's Fine, Consalvo, and Simon Kahan. Let's get into it. We're going to go around the horn on the Somewhat Frank podcast. We're going to be breaking down what's happening in tech, culture, creativity, and anything else that sparks our creativity, anything we're getting into, watching, listening, things of that nature. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So jumping around the horn here, let's start with ladies first. Jen Consalvo, what's going on?
Oh, thanks. Good to be here. So let's see. The biggest news here is that after how many days was it? 40 plus days. The government's back. And as some of you may know, we do a lot of work with the federal government. And so even though we were working, things had slowed down. You know, we didn't have a lot of meetings because most of the people we were working with were furloughed, but everyone's back. So things are resuming, getting a little bit back to normal. And the next few weeks, I imagine, will be quite busy. And then, you know, just in case there's anyone who's not aware of this, all Congress did was kick the can down the road a little bit. So this is all going to happen again. Hopefully over the next several weeks, they're really going to work through things so that at the end of January, we have a budget. If not, we'll be back in shutdown. So that's where we're at. That's what's on my mind these days.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that it's back. So question for you then, Jen, with that 41 day, it was 41 days. Is that right? Is that what you said?
I think so.
41 days. Is everyone coming in hot and heavy now, ready to do a lot in that little window of 2 weeks before Thanksgiving?
It remains to be seen right now. Everyone came in very focused because there was a big conference that started today that they had to be prepared for. So imagine something that we would normally be working with them for several months, and all of a sudden it was very condensed. So they were all at the conference. So when they get back, I think there's going to be a lot of activity. So yeah, we'll see.
Definitely. But I just posted this on LinkedIn this week. I was thinking about it because like the last couple of weeks right around Thanksgiving, and then you've got 2 weeks of like activity in December, and then you got 2 more weeks of kind of like downtime, and then it's CES. So we're kind of in that home stretch right now. So you're doing things and trying to get it out there, you know, connect with people or whatever. You might run into one of those roadblocks, you know, at the end of the year, within the end of, you know, November or December. So keep that in mind if you're out there trying to connect with people. Give people a little bit more extra time because I think it's going to take a little. All right, next round, going around the horn, Simon, how are you doing, Tarantula Khan?
Hi, everybody. I'm doing great. My update for everyone is I'm getting back into terrariums. And I was actually into them in college, but then my roommates made fun of me, so I stopped. But I'm into it again. And you might be thinking, is it just like a big pile of dirt? And it actually is. It's just a big pile of dirt. You put, dirt, charcoal, lid in a jar, a little bit of water, leave it, never touch it, don't open it. And then slowly but surely, like, things will grow. And then since it's closed and you put a little water in, it's like its own little like rainfall system because then it evaporates and blah, blah. It's awesome. And I made a bunch. I'm making some for my siblings. And at first they're going to just say like, oh, cool, you got me a jar of dirt. But if you give it like 5 years, like an investment, I think they're going to be really stoked. So I'm really into terrariums right now.
That's pretty cool. I didn't even know that could, like, I guess you just leave it. It doesn't like get moldy or anything?
No, it's awesome. So you line the bottom with like charcoal for like filtration purposes, and then soil, rocks, whatever, dirt, and the plants and stuff. But you never know. Like I did it in DC. I just took a big thing of dirt out of my yard and put it in this jar. And then a year later, there was like snails and like flowers and like other weird things I didn't know.
Where did the snails come from?
I don't know. They're just around. And that's my favorite part. I used to be really into aquariums for the same reason. Like you never know what you're going to get. Hopefully someone resonates with that.
Simon, I want a terrarium.
I can make you a terrarium.
Okay, so if you pull my name for Secret Santa, I would like a terrarium, please.
Do you want a terrarium?
Yeah.
Extra snails?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Escargot.
Right, I'm on it.
Yes, in case we're to pinch for dinner.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
But that is my update.
Awesome. That sounds like fun. All right, Johnny, good times. What's going on over there?
Well, getting ready for Thanksgiving. So we've been out shopping. Well, I should say my wife's been out shopping quite a bit to get the turkey, all those sorts of things. So that's been fun. Really big into football these days with some games that actually mean something now that we're later in the season. So college football is really getting into things. Unfortunately, my teams aren't doing very well this year. Penn State and Purdue are having a rough year. Steelers are kind of rough as well, but they're doing a little bit better. So really big into football, Thanksgiving, and getting ready for the holidays.
Nice. And you've been doing some walking in the woods too, right? Just walking around.
Oh, yeah. Went out,
Nice.
my father and I went out and did a little bit of deer hunting this weekend, which for those of our listeners that may be concerned about the lives of deer, don't worry. When we are in the woods, there are no deer to be found anywhere. I am very, very bad luck. So I never see deer out there. And if I do, it's very, far away or something I'm not looking for. So, but it's a good opportunity to get out in the woods with my dad and just kind of, pretend like we're like kids again.
That's great. That's good to be out there. And actually being in the woods can really be helpful just from being in nature and obviously absorbing things. There's articles and studies are all around that. So that's great to hear. And all right. So my update, and I think I've told folks about this before. This is a big one though. This is kind of a big step. I've been doing a lot of music stuff lately. I always play guitar or whatever, but really got into it recently, and I've got a first song coming out soon, very soon. So maybe even by the time you hear this podcast, if you check it out, it's called Welcome to Maine. It drops on November 21st on all the platforms. It's a folksy song about life here through the seasons of Maine, and I hope you all check it out and enjoy it if you like it, and if you share it with someone else that might like it. And we can play a clip really quick. Here's a little clip for it, so let's listen.
Welcome to Maine. Welcome home to Maine. It's vacation land, and we're living here all the time.
There you go. So go check it out if you have. Please pre-save it, share it with your friends, tell your mom, whatever it is. We gotta get this thing out here for anyone that likes New England and appreciates heading to Maine, whether in the vacation land time during the summer or year round. So, and also I mentioned last time I'm doing a bunch of behind the scenes stuff for people, and they seem to be enjoying it. So I appreciate the feedback and all the people that are writing back and showing the enthusiasm. But yeah, it's over at frankgrubermusic.substack.com. I've written a couple things about. First one I just did was about what we're doing here with the music, but then also the second one was just about like backstory behind Welcome to Maine, and kind of gives a backstory about what it's about and how it got going. And so check that out. I'm excited. It's a launch night this week, and it's gonna be really exciting once it happens and it's out there in the world, because it's taken about a year plus to get out there. So fun project. All right.
And Jen, what's your involvement been with all of this? I'm just curious.
So I've often been the feedback, right? So listen to this. What do you think of this? So I've tried to give my supportive, Frank, what would you call it? I think it's constructive feedback, constructive criticism throughout the process, because I very much want it to be a success and want to help in any way I can. And I also, this was fun, Frank had me pull out my big old DSLR, which I have not used for years. So for anyone who doesn't know, that's an actual digital camera, like a real camera with lenses, like a Canon. And so we went out and we did some photo shoots, and we got some footage of him playing, and that was really fun. So
yeah, it was awesome. Some great photos. Welcome to Maine. The cover art is actually a photo Jen took. We went out to the Welcome to Maine sign as you come in through Kittery there, and got a lot of honks as I stood on the side of the road underneath the sign. And actually 2 other people stopped. It was crazy. Like people were stopping and like getting photos underneath the sign, I guess.
And there's no pull off, just so everyone understands. Like you're on the side of the highway, and there's this little bit of a berm, right? Like a grassy berm. And so you just kind of have to like risk your life and pull off. And people, literally everyone started pulling over and getting out of their cars to take pictures.
We weren't sure if it was because of us or they had the idea already. So we're kind of curious. I kind of want to go watch that spot and see, do people stop every like 10 minutes? Because it was a lot of people. I'm literally trying to like make a little like, photo shoot / music clips and things. And there's people stopping left or right. I'm like asking if they can take pictures, and they're getting in the shot because they're parking their car like right next to us. And like it's crazy. What is going on? But it was fun, and obviously kind of terrifying because people do go like 90 going down, 95 or whatever as you're driving by. You're like, whoa, this is crazy. Lots of honks though, lots of fun. But Jen's been super supportive, obviously, of the whole thing, and it's been a lot of fun, and obviously. There's more to come. So I guess check out the track. Love to have you listen to it, and hopefully you like it. And inspired by Maine. Let's see here. All right, Simon, what's been going on in history?
A lot has happened in history. We're recording this on November 19th, but on this week in history, whenever you listen to this, in 1863, President Abraham Lincoln delivered the brief but renowned Gettysburg Address at the dedication of the National Cemetery in Pennsylvania during the American Civil War. It's when he said the fourscore thing. Anyways, on this day in 63, the Gettysburg Address was given. Big deal, famous speech, and we love Lincoln, so pretty important day.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Illinois, and he was like legend, right? He's from Illinois, and so big deal in Illinois for sure. Land of Lincoln. All right, so let's jump in to the stories that are hitting the headlines. And first off, we've talked about this before with AI and creators. You know, there's a lot of things that are being disrupted by AI, and you know, one of those being music. And so recently, within the last couple months, we've seen some stars pop up and whatnot. So one that caught my attention this last week was there's an AI country band called Breaking Rust, which topped the charts. It was an AI generated country song, Walk My Walk, by Breaking Rust, and they were the number one hit on the Billboard country chart. And that happened just in the last week or so. And so more or less, what it's saying here is that you can basically create an AI generated artist and top the charts now, which is insane. It's the first time I think that's been done, especially in the country genre. So, it's all entirely vocal, instrumental lyrics, everything was done via AI generated content. And it was the week of November 8th that it was, basically amassed tons of streams on all the platforms and caught the attention, obviously, of the Billboard, which is something I'm trying to catch the attention of too. So I've got to take some note on that. But that's a whole other story. But yeah, the creator of this mainly, created the song. I don't know. Did you guys get a chance to listen to this song? Obviously it's getting a little bit of an uproar around country music where, they're trying to figure out how AI could play live shows. And I've already kind of figured that out. It's if you've ever been to Vegas and seen a DJ like a marshmallow, there is a potential for somebody to literally just put on a marshmallow type thing and pretend they're playing and play their songs. So I don't think it's too far-fetched to think that could be replaced at a live situation. So anyway, want to get your guys' take on it. It's an interesting shift, drawing a lot of attention around the idea of authenticity and human creativity and live performances and the artistry of it and all that. So anybody want to any thoughts? Would you
yeah.
Would you stream an AI country song if you had it? Would you know the difference?
Well, I think there was an interesting time when the radio was just like singers, right? And then there was a certain point, it was like artists like Moby came in and changed things where you were hearing compositions by DJs, maybe sampling other music or whatever, but it the whole DJ culture and scene really changed a lot of things. And you went to someplace like Vegas where literally on the sides of hotels, you have massive posters of DJs who are mixing other people's music and some of their own, obviously, original creations. But I think this has the power again to be its own genre. And imagine now you go to a music festival, like I think of Life is Beautiful in Vegas, where you have tents that or stages that really cater to certain types of music. So you'll have a stage that's very much like rock bands, and you'll go to another one that's like, house music or whatever it might be, electronica. And then, maybe that's going to be this whole other sort of stage area that you would go to where it's just like the digital artists and it's really set up that way where you see the screens and it's maybe a more immersive experience. I don't know, that's what's coming up for me, that it could introduce this whole new category. And
yeah, I think it could be a genre.
I guess I'm hopeful that it stays like in its own lane.
Well, it's a blend right now. You're seeing artists use AI to build music, and then now you're seeing fully AI music. And I feel like if you're using AI to make music, you should probably go in a category called AI music. And I don't know, that's my thought. Make it, because think about this, like that artist took away a top spot from some other artists. Like they weren't on the Billboard top 1 or 2 because they got bumped down to 2 and 3. And those folks have been working on this for a while. Not to say I don't know the background of the people behind creating the AI version or whatever, but they may have worked really hard too. But long story short is these other folks have been really physically working to make this happen for a long time, and they're taking spots away from other people. So I feel like there needs to be a little bit of a caveat there, and maybe its own category if you want. I mean, we're not going to slow this down, right? This is not the genie's out of the bottle. So how do we make it work in the same kind of environment, I guess you could say.
I think that the way people feel about AI and significantly impacts like the deployment of AI in society, and I actually think this is a bad thing. I think the slopification of AI is making it seem like it's taking all the cool art, creative stuff that we do, and it's making people really hesitant about AI. And I read a paper recently where some head of an AI company wants to take seriously what they put out instead of putting out everything, because, you know, like Sora, people just kind of get a bad feeling from all this like AI slop online. And I think putting out AI music is going to be damaging to like perception of AI overall, and it'll be harder for people to adopt it in the future.
Yeah, no, I think that's 100% true. I think there's parts that you can use it for. So like, for example, you mentioned Sora. I've been using Sora to make little video kind of things that I could use for promotional purposes. Now it's not music that I'm using. It's actually just like shots of stuff that I don't normally it would take me, you know, I couldn't actually go create that shot. Like it doesn't exist. Right. So there's that component of it. But yeah, but as far as music goes, I do feel like there's this weird timing. And I know there's some artists that are kind of getting behind it. Product called Suno AI. That was a big talk. I jumped on a Instagram live this week with Jermaine Dupri, who's a huge producer, artist, everything, Grammy winner and all that, and Grammy winning artist for years. Anyway, long story short, and I was having a conversation around this, and Suno came up a lot because there's certain artists that are using that tool to release different parts of the likeness of an artist like somebody else, right? And I feel like it's really getting close to like, is that at that point like plagiarism? I don't know, what do you call that when you're stealing someone's likeness? Copyright infringement of that person, because you can make a song that sounds just like Justin Timberlake, and because you fed it in there, and now you're banking off of it because you created a whole new artist around it. And I don't know, it's really getting interesting. They're gonna have to do some things, I think, to kind of put some rails around this.
Yeah, I think it's a fad. I think it's going to be something. It's going to be a period of time where, similar to Major League Baseball with the steroid era, that there's going to be an asterisk beside it. I mean, it just doesn't seem. There's a morality to it. I feel like there's value there. I mean, it sounds like a good song. I'd listen to it, but at the same time, it's not produced by musicians, right? It's produced by coders and algorithms. So I think, to Frank's point, I think creating its own genre makes sense to me. And just definitely pointing out that this is something that's made a certain way, and if you want to listen to it, then by all means, and if you don't, then hit swipe left or whatever. I just think it's going to be I think it's a little bit of a fad.
Yeah.
And I think there's something that they're going down this gimmick road right now, right, of creating the artist. I think it's way more interesting to understand, just again going back to the DJ paradigm, what got interesting about DJs were the DJs themselves, right? Steve Aoki, Moby, I don't know, there's a gazillion others, right? Like their persona, their own point of view, that's what was interesting about it. So I'd much rather understand the person, or maybe even the team, which is the pseudo band in this paradigm, right? And who they are and why they're, creating this digital music and what's behind it, and to give it some story and give it some connection in real life. I don't care about a fake artist. Like, that's a character. That's like saying that, Snow White is now singing this song and now you're going to put her in a bunch of outfits on a big screen. I don't care, but I might care about the people behind it. So I think, like John was saying, I think it's a fad. And hopefully if this is going to become a real thing, hopefully they can bring the real human aspect into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And I think the toughest part is going to be that delineation of like what's considered AI generated and what's not. And the reason I say that is there's certain like tools that are being used right now to make music that allow you to pull in beats and things like that, drums and every kind of instrument. But as long as that stuff's not like, how is that generated, right? Is that generated via AI, or is that like some other way that they create that? I think that's the interesting thing, because it's going to be, I think there's going to be a situation where there's tools that are literally generating that stuff on the fly via AI to kind of put into your music versus like creating the whole musical piece yourself kind of thing. So I think that's where it's going to be a little bit dicey as far as trying to figure out because I think there was even a company we talked about Jesse Middleton was on the podcast, the Established podcast a while back, and was talking about some companies he invested in AI. One was a music-based company that I believe helped with like Sabrina Carpenter's Espresso song. Like that, she was using that to help create it. And there were some others as well. So I think, but it wasn't her, like wasn't using her likeness. It's literally just like a backbeat, right, or something that she had basically been created via AI or leveraged AI in some way to make that. So I think that's where there's this like weird like gray area that they're gonna have to figure out what's considered AI music and what's not, and then figure out how do we keep that AI generated area over there so they can give the right, give them their, it's it reminds me a little bit of like another instrument in some ways. I know people probably are gonna hate me for saying that, but like when like electronica music and things like that came out, like there's certain sounds there that's like, that that are created that are not like, it's not a guitar, it's not like a regular instrument. So it's that synthetic instrument kind of sounds and things like that could come out of it. So I think that's been put in a category. Why not put AI music over here in its own category? Let them all compete about how they created AI with the best prompts and tools, and then everyone else that's actually like got bloody fingers from playing guitar can be in the other category.
You need to get in there to the Grammys now and head this off. We don't want any AI awardees at the Grammys.
Well, hopefully they're listening to Somewhat Frank. All right, so let's move along here. So Johnny, good times. You got an article you brought up about something happened in space, a true lost in space story.
Sure. Yeah, there's a situation going on right now where there's 3 astronauts aboard China's space station that are stuck there without a guaranteed safe return vehicle because the return vehicle was hit by space debris and damaged. So it raises a lot of, issues, and kind of something that I think we're going to have to start taking more seriously, because I think for a while space was so, robust and so big that you didn't have to really worry about space debris. But now with all of the satellites that every country is shooting up there and everything, that it's really going to become an issue. And I know that, Frank, we invested in a company through Established Ventures called Scout, that one of their main purpose is to regulate and monitor space debris. So it just shows the value there of being able to do those things, because right now there's 3 people up in space that don't have a way to get back. And it's going to, that's pretty, I can only imagine being one of those 3 people, and it'd be hard to sleep up there while they're trying to figure out how to get them back on Earth at some point. What happens to those people if they don't? There's a similar situation. It wasn't dealing with space debris, but we did have some, some U.S. astronauts that were stuck up on the space station a while ago. That I think it was SpaceX actually ended up getting them back safely. But I'm sure that there's people that are scrambling right now to, for the safety of the safe return of these astronauts.
Yeah, and to your point, that is, so Scout was they do this domain awareness, and it's becoming a bigger problem because there's a lot of debris up there, and they are knocking, things are hitting satellites and all that. So definitely a real problem, which is I mean, did you think about 10 years ago we were talking about that? That's crazy. So so I think now it's just like figuring out how do you still continue to like take on this risk and also like eliminate it in some way for these astronauts. And I don't know, it just seems like I don't know how this kind of thing happens. It kind of floors me.
Yeah, I think I have 2 things. I think I read somewhere that the issue with the space debris is that it's traveling at such speeds that if it gets broken up, then it creates a lot more fragments. And they're traveling at such high speeds that it doesn't matter if they're tiny, they're still going to like rip a hole through your spacesuit or whatever. So the problem like compounds, it gets way harder the more, like exponentially, the more debris gets up there. And 2, I think we should go save them. I think that would be a nice diplomatic thaw if we go and save them. And, we could play American Pie on the way out and stuff. I think it'll be fun.
There you go.
Film the whole thing.
Yeah, make it like a propaganda thing.
Well, I'm just curious, why have we not heard about this already? Like, how did I miss this is my better question.
I don't know. Are you up to date in Chinese space travel?
Apparently not. I guess, why is it not why have we not heard about this more, I guess is what I'm thinking. Like, that seems like a problem. Anyway.
Well, I mean, the same thing was being said when the U.S. astronauts were saved by SpaceX. It barely made the news, and it was kind of for diplomatic reasons because Elon was involved, right? So like mainstream media wasn't really reporting on it, was the argument there. And they really saved people's lives by, SpaceX moving quickly and having the ability to pivot and send resources up there to save these people. So, it's China, which right now we're not on the best terms with, I think. And so, you know how the media works, right? So, but yeah, it's a big story.
It's actually really surprising to me that we don't already have contingency plans for these scenarios. If you think about, again, going back through the history of the space program, if we're sure of anything, it's that things will go wrong. Typically, right? Things go wrong and you need to have redundancy, you need to have other plans. So it is surprising to me that we, not just the US, but other countries launch people into space, put them into the space station, and then don't have sort of a backup plan just in case of the gazillion things that could happen.
Yeah, like an umbrella chute that like gets them down back to Earth or something like that. Some kind of like secret backup plan. I get it. Interesting.
I'm always surprised by stuff like that too, Jen, because you think that I'm a conspiracy theorist, right? I'm always thinking like there's people behind the scenes that are pulling strings to make things happen, and we have everything covered. And then all of a sudden, like 9/11 happens, and we didn't have fighter jets ready to scramble that were armed. Like, where's my tax money going to, right? Like over the U.S., we don't have armed fighter jets ready to protect us. Or like, remember that Malaysian airliner that just disappeared? Like, we don't have satellites that are tracking every inch of the airspace out there. Like, sorry, this airplane just disappeared off the face of the earth. Like, we don't know what happened. It could have been aliens. It could have went down in one of many oceans. We have no idea what happened with it. So like, stuff like that continues to blow my mind and actually kind of disappoint me that there aren't contingency plans and like we're not monitoring things that we have the capability of doing at this point.
Yeah,
same sort of theme, I guess, comes to mind.
Yeah, I'm actually on the opposite end. I used to there's some conspiracies I believe in, but I think that what I'm leaning towards is the disappointing truth that like no one really knows, like has a handle completely on everything.
Oh no, we're in agreement. We must be saying we must be talking past each other, because I'm the same way. Like, I'm very disappointed that we don't have all those things covered when I hear them.
Yeah, like it would be awesome if like there was like this cabal who like had screens and stuff. What I love about astronauts though is that they're not only so like wildly intelligent, but they're so good at like mechanics and like remaining calm under pressures.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they're just thinking through it logically. They're definitely not panicking, because I imagine they're trained not to do that. But yeah, it's interesting.
Like MacGyver. Yeah, we'll move along on that topic and jumping into Jen. We've got the AI network that you talk about here in a second, and actually is part of my network, which used to work with one of these folks that started this company. So go ahead, Jen. Take it away.
Yeah, so thanks for the tip, Frank. There's a company called SuperMe. They just closed $6.8 million seed round led by Greylock to power their AI expert network. So again, we've sort of discussed these digital twin types of technologies before, where now it's taking like tech experts and setting up some type of, AI bot, some type of twin for them so that they can actually extend their voice, right? So people were saying, hey, I'm an expert. I go on LinkedIn. I try to connect with people, but I get the same questions over and over and over again. And that's a big challenge. And now there's a solution, because I can take my knowledge, I can put it into this digital twin, and now it has this unlimited capacity to answer the same questions over and over again. So that's great. So SuperMe is setting up this network. They claim to have about 3,000 people who have created AI profiles so far, including a bunch of influencers. And they said they've had about 30,000 conversations take place. So really interesting. I think it matters for this creator economy, the experts, the influencers, the thought leaders who need to be able to scale themselves. You can imagine artists with huge networks, right? People who want to be able to feel like they're connecting with people, even though it's not really them connecting. So it's interesting for the audience, right? Because people want to feel like they're connecting to the artist in some way. And maybe for a lot of people that would fill that need. Like if it's information, knowledge that they want, like an answer to how they would approach something, that information may be very useful. So I think, obviously this comes with some risks. There's a bunch of companies out here doing it, and they're probably all doing it in different ways. And I can imagine that, there are some that maybe your AI might get a little out of control. Maybe it makes some answers up. Maybe it does some things that wouldn't represent you in the best light. Maybe there's some misinformation that now all of a sudden it looks like it's coming from you. Maybe there's other bad actors out there who have set something up that they can clone, right? Your digital twin, and now you've got like these deep fakes out there. So I feel like, we're in this really early infancy stage of this technology. So it'll be interesting where we go. But as I said, there's a number of entrants. There's, let's see, like, I don't know, a dozen or so out there that have been out there raising money. So anywhere from pre-seed rounds of a couple million up to, I think there's some that have raised about 40 million. We've got SuperMe, we've got URAI, Tavis, Personal AI, Two-Way, Me for You, Delphi, Continuum. There's a bunch. So I think this is a space to watch. They're getting some decent money, not the lion's share of the money that's funding AI, but they're still getting funded, and it's something to keep an eye on.
Cloning a persona's persona is a new one for me.
Well, it could. I'm curious if any of you would actually do this, if you would go out and create, regardless of what it might cost. I think right now, like SuperMe is doing it for free.
I think it's cool.
Imagine
I would do it.
a lot of these are not, right? Especially as you are like a bigger personality, right? Would you guys do this?
Could I get it to, like, can I make it cooler than me? Like, can it exceed my qualities?
Ooh.
It's
AI. I think anything's possible.
If it could make me really cool, and I've always kind of wanted a Southern accent, but I don't think that's what you're talking about. But yeah, I think I'll do it.
Well, let's talk about the use case of that. Is it literally on a web page, someone comes to your digital twin and talks to you? Is that how they are going to implement this kind of thing, or is it kind of?
I think there's all different implementations. So SuperMe right now is, I think, a network you log into and you can just ask questions and get different expert, answers, right? But I know that there are some of these other services that work directly with high profile individuals and work with them on really pulling out all their information and knowledge and actually set up a very sort of personable version of it. So you could have like Simon the Tarantula Kahan, like right. Just, really like as suave as possible accent on your own page. Would you do that?
I'm in. John's shaking his head.
No, I would not do that. I feel like there's something nefarious going on, and people could use my likeness if they had really nothing else to do with their time and to do some bad things with it. So I don't know. I'm very skeptical of something like this. Maybe someday, or if I'm lazy and it can do my job for me on Zoom calls, maybe I would do something like that. But I'm just a little skeptical.
How far away are we from literally just sending your AI to Zoom calls?
Well, we are the note takers.
Yeah, I think we're real close. I think we're like a year or two away from.
So one other thing I just wanted to bring up in this vein, because I thought this was very interesting. So I think it was maybe a few episodes ago, Scott Galloway from Pivot and Prof G podcasts had said he was doing this. He had come up, he had done an agreement with somebody. I feel like it was Google, but he was working with someone to create his digital twin, and they had gone so far as actually they worked on it for quite a while. They developed it, they launched it, and within 24 hours, he had a change of heart and told him to pull it down. And the reason why was not so much of these other things we just discussed, but because he felt like there are too many vulnerable people out there who might, go to it and really start building a relationship. So again, just as we've talked about with even just ChatGPT, right? People are going to ChatGPT who's nameless and faceless and building relationships. Now imagine you might have this celebrity, maybe you listen to them and maybe you have a little bit of a crush on them, or you're very, very interested in them and for some reason, and now you have 24/7 access to their digital twin. Are there people who that could do some sort of damage to, and if they sort of develop this synthetic, as they're coining it now, relationship? And he didn't want to be part of that. He felt like that was just a step too far.
You're right. I'm out. That actually is really scary. that sounds super.
Jen, it reminds me of that recent episode of The Morning Show, where the CEO creates her own AI
so good
personality, and it ended up saying a lot of hurtful, things that were private, I guess you'd call it, and she ended up getting fired because of it. Similar thought there.
Yep. Yeah, that was really, they really tapped into something interesting in that episode.
I mean, it does open up that vulnerability for sure. You know, it depends on where it's getting that information from. You know, who's to say like somebody asks you for advice and you tell it like something really terrible and something bad really happens to that person because of whatever advice you gave them. Like that's like a whole nother realm of, you know, lawsuit, I guess, you know, for both you and the company, I assume. Yeah, it's tricky. It's a tricky one for sure. Not to mention, like you mentioned, the deep fake situation could be a problem as well.
Now, there could be, you know, again, there could be some really interesting different sectors. It's one thing with, I would imagine this sort of expert network is probably going to try to create some tight guidelines around it and keep it from becoming personal. And, you know, they might be able to really keep it contained. You know, I could also imagine maybe like a Disney, right? Taking this and trying to create these digital twins for their characters. Maybe again, like if it's very, very contained and kids can go in and ask like, what are their names? Oh my God, I can't remember characters. Moana. What would Moana wear to this thing? Or what would she do with this problem? I don't know. Like maybe Disney could come up with, again, some very sanitized, as I would imagine it would be, ways to tackle this. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how, because I don't see this going away. I think people, unless it's just, again, another fad, like we were talking about, John, you said with the artists, this could just be one of those first, you know, hey, this seems like the obvious thing to do with AI. Let's all try it. And then maybe they'll all bust. And like in 5 years, everyone's going to be like, why, you know, that doesn't matter. Who cares?
Do you guys see yourselves interacting with this, you know, a digital twin like this? Like, would you go to I don't know, Tony Robbins or any of those like people like that are, you know, you mentioned Scott Galloway. Like, would you find yourself like talking to that twin?
That's a great question.
Well, that's another thing too, right? It's just a skin for AI, whatever AI system they're using. It's not like that person's intellectual property or their domain expertise by any means, unless they set it up that way, I would imagine, right? It's just, it's a skin for the algorithm. So I don't think so.
I guess it depends how good it is. Like, could you go to Scott Galloway and be like, hey, what's some stock advice you'd give? Because I know he's big into like wealth management and stuff.
I might use it in the same way I would use ChatGPT for certain information. And so if, like, I think of ChatGPT right now as like Google, right? And so maybe if, for example, Bloomberg had their own version, I might think of it as like, okay, so for business information or JP Morgan Chase, like maybe an individual who has a very, very solid expertise in something. But, you know, at a certain point, how many different experts are you going to go to versus one tool? We still typically go back to Google for most things. So I don't know.
Well, Gemini or ChatGPT or Anthropic, you could go to any of those and try to say, hey, use the likeness of this person or whatever. It's not gonna be as good probably because it's not been literally tapped into their brain, you know, or whatever. That is possibly another way to do it for now. So it's interesting. I mean, I think it's a really interesting whole like category of companies. As you saw, there's a lot of them right now, but they're all trying to crack this nut in different ways. And I've always felt like it'd be interesting just from like a personal perspective, if you could keep it private. Like, you know, we've talked about this before on the podcast, like if, you know, a loved one passes away or like whatever, if you had all their information, we even talked about last week, right? We created an actual physical, Suzanne Summers was created like last time we talked about, you know, AI and, you know, but if this is more just like a digital version where you could literally talk to that digital version, ask them questions like, what was that recipe, grandma, that you used to make or whatever, you know, that kind of stuff might be interesting. I mean, there's something sentimental in that, but also nostalgic about that. And hopefully not super creepy. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the way you said it, because in the past I know I've sort of been a naysayer on that because of the relationships. Again, like, can people move on? But I do love the idea of if for sort of that family history and like you said, the recipes or things like that. Like I would love to be able to, you know, be in the kitchen and just like I have my digital picture frame and like to imagine another frame there and it's like my grandparents and I could be like, you know, to my Nana, like, Nana, how did you make the thing how did you make the sauce? I need to know how you made the sauce. And she could just tell me how to make the sauce. Like that would be amazing.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm thinking. Like that kind of stuff could be really helpful. And obviously, it's, it keeps that memory kind of around. So, and present. All right. So thinking about, because we haven't talked much about AI. Simon, did you have anything you want to talk about AI related?
I have a lot I want to talk about AI related, Frank. Google on this Monday, launched Gemini 3, specifically the Pro version initially. They call it the most intelligent model yet. It seems to be now the new best AI model on the market. From day one, they embedded it into Google search in its AI mode, which is a first for Google. So this new model, it has significant improvements across reasoning, understanding, and agentic tasks, which seems to be the future of AI capability. Doing things, taking care of things by itself, multi-step workflows. They also have generative UI, so you can create custom interactive visual responses like simulations, calculators, just by querying it. And I thought this was really interesting because it kind of shifts the underlying platform expectations from AI companies developing standalone chatbot experiments to like full product integration. And I think we'll continue to see that more and more. A couple weeks ago, OpenAI released their Atlas browser, which is similar in how they integrate AI into the browser. I actually recommended it a couple weeks ago, and now I'm not super into it, so I rescinded that. But it's a cool platform. And I thought it's a big move for Google because I feel like in the AI game, they were sort of playing defense. But by utilizing their like huge search engine, obviously they're able to kind of take the offensive and come out with this incredibly capable model. And I just thought and I remember when ChatGPT 5 came out, it was sort of lackluster. Like people were not as kind of stoked about the capabilities, but Gemini 3 seems to have completely exceeded the expectations. And we'll see how it goes. But Google is now, in my opinion, leading the way.
Interesting. So are you finding yourself using more Gemini or OpenAI, or what's your usage pattern since this kind of change?
Yeah, so lately I've been using Claude and Claude Code, and I've been vibe coding, and my friends who are actual like coders hate it, but I think it's pretty cool. And I always felt kind of excluded.
For anybody that's not familiar, what's vibe coding exactly?
So vibe coding, people are going to hate this. Vibe coding is just coding by writing a prompt into Claude and then getting Claude Code to do it. So I got this whole like website up the other day just by typing into Claude, what's the best prompt for Claude Code to create a website? Giving me the best prompt. I take that, put it into Claude Code. Within seconds, it has a website created and it looks great. There's still some bugs, but you can fix it, and it's scary, and it's scary how good it is. But I've been using Claude for like vibe coding, and then OpenAI for like, what's the weather? This kind of stuff.
I love that they call it vibe coding and not prompt coding. Isn't that funny? Like it makes it sound much more sexy. It's like the vibe coding.
Yeah. Well, I've been telling my friends I'm a coder now, like my friends who actually do code, and then they went to school for it and stuff. But haha, now I can do it.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, that does show the power of AI and how it's enabling people to create. All right. So I did also, you mentioned Atlas, the ChatGPT browser. I downloaded and been using it pretty regularly. It's interesting because I end up finding myself back at it more than I would on like a regular browser. So it kind of keeps all of your chats in one place, and finding myself going there more than sometimes going to Google, which is really interesting. So definitely a race is on. Hey, anyone else using that or tested it out yet? No. All right, check it out if you get a chance. It's I don't know, it just brings me back to like that race from like Google and Yahoo and Netscape and everyone was trying to get everyone to use their browser or whatever. And now here we are again trying to get people to use our browser. So I've been testing that out. Yeah. So anyway, so that's what I've been testing. And anybody else testing anything?
I've been testing one thing actually.
Okay.
I've been eating a banana smoothie or drinking a banana smoothie every day to become big and strong. And I put banana, protein powder, peanut butter, milk, and just done a horrible number on my digestive system. But it's supposed to make me big and strong, so we'll see. I mean, month, it's awful. But banana smoothies.
There you go, banana smoothies. All right, we'll move along here to our what we've been watching, listening, reading. And I know there wasn't too much, but I did take note that, like, are you guys familiar with like the Farmer's Almanac? I meant to grab it before we jumped on, but it's this little book that every year gets put out by a group, and it's got kind of says like, what's going to happen this year, and it's started being published in 1818. But it's basically planting calendars, long range, like weather predictions, folklore, some fun advice, I guess, that they put in there around the home and all that, kind of geared towards homesteading or home farming and all that, farmers and all that. That's why it's called the Farmer's Almanac. But it is kind of fun. Anyway, it'll continue online, but they're getting rid of the published book, which is, I feel like it's been a stocking stuffer, at least for every so often for our household. We seem to have one here or there throughout. I definitely see it when I go buy chicken stuff at the the Tractor Supply. They've got it right at the checkout. You can get the Farmer's Almanac. But after a good run, so 208 years of publication, and they're going to sunset it. So definitely going to read up my physical version for the next couple days or months as we roll out of 2025. But yeah, it's kind of an American tradition and symbolic, and I guess everything's going digital these days. All right. So anybody else watching, reading, anything else going on?
Last episode, I recommended The Chair Company show on HBO. I'm rescinding that recommendation. I don't like it anymore. The last episode freaked me out, and it no longer has my support. So don't watch that.
Don't watch The Chair Company. Got it. I will not. I did watch the Billie Eilish. What's it called? It's been around for a while. It's on Apple, I believe. Billie Eilish documentary over the weekend. I watched it with my little one, and I don't know if it's a little one geared show, actually. Now that I think about it, I got caught that midway through. The language a little rough, but didn't realize that till I was halfway through. But long story short, it's interesting. It's about her kind of rise, and it's kind of what I thought was interesting, that they were doing a documentary before she was big. Like they were kind of like doing this documentary long before she had really hit it, and so they almost like they knew it was going to happen, kind of thing. So kind of wild. And her song Ocean Eyes has been around for about 10 years now. So it's been a while since they recorded that. So
it's crazy how long she's been around already.
I mean, her first drop was on SoundCloud. It was when she was 13. It was Ocean Eyes, and they recorded it then a year later to put it out everywhere. And she was 13. Now that's crazy. Like, so anyway, something to think about. It was definitely something to watch if you're into documentary stories.
John, you love Billie Eilish, right?
I can't tell if you're joking or not, but I do like some of her songs. I'm not gonna lie. I like her earlier stuff. Some of this stuff gets a little goofy, but like Ocean Eyes is good. I've listened to it. It's on my iTunes.
A Bad Guy was the one that really got her out there as well. So that was a big hit. Anyway, all right, moving along here. Let's leave on a final thought here on a high note. We like to do that. Got some. This one's kind of close to home, but before we wrap, I wanted to highlight a small but meaningful story that's we wanted to celebrate, and it's in Nashville. Michaela, who's on our team, and her husband created this little doggy stick library. It's kind of like that library concept of take a book, leave a book kind of thing that you see all around the neighborhoods. Well, this is with sticks for dogs. And it was highlighted on the news, as well as she got, kind of the concept went viral as it appeared on Kelly Clarkson's show just recently. We can drop a clip in the show notes, but it was really cool. Reminds you that, anything is possible. Just a little creativity, a little kindness, and community kind of gel together. And here they are on Kelly Clarkson's show. So really cool idea. And so as we talk about AI and all that kind of, institutions being disrupted and all that, something really simple like just bringing an idea to life can actually make an impact and bring a lot of smiles to their neighborhood as they have a lot of doggies that walk by and take a stick and leave a stick. All right. So with that, thanks everybody for tuning in to episode 86 of Somewhat Frank Podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. If you have, leave a comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Really appreciate it. All definitely helps. We'll be back with more episodes and additional information here about the intersection of tech culture and creativity and everything in between. Until next time, stay curious and always stay somewhat frank.
Thanks for listening to the Somewhat Frank Podcast. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe and leave us a review. We love the feedback and are grateful to have you as a listener. Have a great day.